My name is Ginny Barnett. I've been a volunteer here since 2006. Hopefully that doesn't cause a problem. Thank you so much for being here today. Last year, we had over 424,000 visitors here. You and all of the visitors that come here ensure that the story of the heroes of Flight 93 will never be forgotten. That's one of our primary objectives here at the memorial. So in effect, you are living out our mission statement for us. And I always begin by thank you. Before I start, I'd like to ask if you would hang on to your questions until the end of the talk. Many times I answer those questions in the course of the talk, but more importantly, questions get me off track, they interrupt my flow, and it's hard to get back on track again, and I would hate to skip over some of the things that I have planned to share with you today. So hang on to them. We will get to them at the very end. Thanks. I want to begin by just orienting you as to what you can see from this location. Behind me, you see the long white wall. That's the wall of names. It marks for you the flight path of Flight 93, so that when you're standing in front of it, you are just beneath the flight path. Looking to your right, you will see that you line up directly with the overlook. That's the black structure that juts out from the openings in the double concrete walls. That is also the flight path. That's the direction from which Flight 93 came. Standing in front of the wall again, and looking to your left, you will see a ceremonial gate crossing the flight path. Looking through the beams of that gate, all the way to the edge of the field where it meets the hemlock tree forest, you'll see a boulder. That marks the impact site for you. The crater would have been on your side or gate side of that boulder. On the other side, and to the left of the overlook, there's a blank footprint. That's where the buildings of PBS Cole stood the day of the crash. They were metal warehouse-type buildings. Those are the buildings that the FBI used as their command post, from which they orchestrated the entire recovery effort. From that blank footprint, there's an outcropping of land that reaches out towards the crash site, the end of which we called the bluff during the response. I was here for this response with Red Cross and then later went up to New York City. The bluff is where we brought the families to view the crash site for the very first time before the memorial services. We held 2 of them. At the bluff, we also had a memorial site. We had bales of hay set in a semicircle on which the families and response workers could lay their tributes to the heroes. I have pictures of what that looked like. I know that you in the back will not be able to see these. I will have these up front, all of the photographs up front for you to come up and take a closer look later. But this gives you an idea of what the memorial site looked like. In the background of each photograph, I have labeled for you the crash site, so that as you look at the crash site here, you will be seeing it from the exact same distance and perspective that the families viewed it for the very first time. To the right of the overlook, housed within the double concrete walls, is our visitor center. That's where Rolock Salvage Yard used to stand the day of the crash. So there were 2 businesses right up here on the ridge. I have aerial photographs of what that looked like. And in these photographs, I would just remind you that, whenever you see the flight path labeled, that is now the overlook, just to orient you. And these photographs were taken after the command post was well up and running. So there's going to be a lot of cars and activities at the PBS Cole site. I do have one photograph taken from the field perspective, what we would have seen had we looked up there on the day. And you'll be able to see in the background here that both businesses were highly visible from where we sit. There were two guys that were actually working the yard at Roebuck Salvage Yard as Flight 93 flew over their heads. They dropped everything, ran down to the site. They were the first to be on site. They were able to run down quickly and without obstacle because this entire field or bowl, if you will, today looks very much like it did the day of the crash. The reason being is that this entire flattened area had been strip mined from the mid-1960s to about 1995. In strip mining, what they do is they scoop up the top layers of soil, they truck it out. In fact, on the entry road in which you drove in, most of that was the old coal mining road. They would sift that soil for softer bituminous coal and then bring that sifted soil back and replace it from where it came. The result, flat and barren as compared to the surrounding terrain. At the end of our overlook, etched into the glass barrier, are words that appear in the preamble to our mission statement. A common field one day, a field of honor forever, referring to this common, barren, strip-mined field one day, now a field of honor forever because of what the heroes of Flight 93 did here. We can't tell from where we're sitting, but the walls of the visitor center are actually curved. They mark for you the very outer edge of this field of honor. At the end of the